very cool singularity. Here we are. So, time to do the whole self-promotion thing that one must do in order to succeed in streaming. It's all very fun. Anyway, okay. Okay. Anyway, so, Twitter. Let's see. Tweet. Oh, I'm gonna tweet Elon. He would probably be surprised. Discard. Okay, let's try again. My own profile. That's better now. Yes, everything. This whole stream is about watching me being awkward. That's for sure. I hope you enjoy it. It's probably a little bit interesting to watch at times. I like to think that this will help you feel better about your own streaming when you decide to make your games or something along those lines. It's okay. No one's watching, so no one's watching, but there's the recording going on. I know, right? I don't understand why You're so fun. Why would anyone want to watch that? It's so painful, says my wife. And I honestly don't know the answer, but I'm so happy you do. Come, ad please, here, streaming online. Come join to see me. There I am, put it on the Discord channel. What are we doing tonight? We're doing inventories, aren't we? Do dash use of resources to build. Yes. And aha, the number's 1, but it's probably me, because that's what it does. Create a dashboard. Shows you manage stream. You're live. Why are you live? And coding up. Coding up item costs for building things today or tonight. Now on stream. Come and watch if you like. For the next 2 hours, most likely. So it's rustling and game dev and I don't know, other things. People will find it. So what are we doing? Item costs for building some things tonight. That'll do. Tweet. Great. What else do I write? I have to go on Reddit and I have to do the same thing. It's my little process of making you watch me, tell you to watch me. Watch people code. Let's submit here. Rusty Green Dev making making instructions cost money, and the item link is this one. So well done for sitting through all that self-promotion. Thank you. Okay, I think that's everything. What else do I need to do? I could promote the stream somewhere, I guess. I'm not sure if any of the other wonder if any of the stuff in the Reddit Discord would be interested. I don't want to be in the voice channel. Nah, I'll worry about that some other time. Great. That's just great. Okay, let's get started by reviewing where we're at. So, Star Factory, what do we commit? Well, I've got everything up to date. Test sector, I made some comment changes. Last night, we made a lot of changes, and the result was pretty cool. So, we did this is the test we did, but we also made the game work. So let's just quickly run this up. Just running the server. Already have my oh yes, I meant to update this. This is the stream information. So so we want to make it so that ensure building stuff costs money. Oh, wonderful! Someone's retweeted. That's nice. Update. So that's good. Coding life for you guys is a little bit stressful, but also a bit fun and motivational. So it pays off in the end. So here's the game that's as being developed. I've got this button here that says helpfully flight desk. There's no preview, but when you click, it places a new ship, and then once you've done that, it should be possible to build things on the new ship. But the button that says flight desk never stops working, so we can just keep on, every time we click we're building new ships. So that causes fun stuff to happen with the physics that doesn't really handle the ships inside other ships particularly well. It's interesting that that other ship is not getting pushed aside. So there's all sorts of funky things happening here. So there's probably a few things we need to address. One of which is that we shouldn't this flight desk button, we need to change its name. And the other thing is we need to maybe limit it so you can't place ships close to each other, because it just keeps stacking up like this, and make it so that you can get rid of the button. And then there's also another problem, which is that when the worlds come in, there's something to do with the syncing where they have to spin up through lots of ticks to catch up with the server. It's kind of hard to explain really quickly on stream, so I'm not going to try. So those things all need fixing. So what do we do to show that that's what we're working on? I could take a little picture. That could be good. That's something I thought of doing in the past. Yeah, I'm not going to bother. It sounds like too much work. Okay. I'm just going to try and focus on coding and talking, and coding and talking. Hand mining survival core. So I mentioned a few things that needed fixing. The first one is to change the button so that it has a different name on it. I need to also add a way that you can see that it's going to build a ship. Which I normally do through a placement ghost. I'm just kind of planning out what sort of scene I would like to move around, because the way this works at the moment is that you have this cursor 3D and it has inside it other stuff. It has, so if I look in closely at this, I think there are 5 this viewport settings. Or is it just a problem to do with where we're at? Often in these sort of things you can move around a bit that way. Yeah, there we go. So if I move a bit closer, there's these hidden boxes, like there's a hidden box, hidden flight console, and it's these things that allow you to see what you're going to be building before you build it. Whoops, I didn't mean to click that. And so do I add another one which is for showing a little ship? we might just very quickly put one in. So let's make a new one, add a child node. A new spatial, and it's going to be, I don't know, a new ship. And then we'll create another child node of this. We want to create a mesh, so let's have a look on the 3D ship, and under mesh we have the floor. This floor here, I think that's the one I want, is floor1.tres. So if I put that in, let's see this floor here. That's already quite large, right? And that's what you see on the bottom of the ship. So if we put that inside of new ship floor 1, and then new ship's in the right place, I think. So this one is already geometry. Where are we? It's mesh. I think I'm in the right place. Transform, that's what I was looking for. So I want to see the transform is zeroed out. 0. Yep. Okay. And so now if I try and put a new ship on the cursor, in fact it's below the cursor, that's where the ship's going to go, so you get some sort of idea that you're building one. Make this floor 1. I wonder what we can do with it. We can change the mesh. Material. Yeah, so we've got a material slot here, so we can create a new spatial material. Let's go ahead and make a new spatial material. So if we have a look at the original T-res, the original subscene, I was expecting that to open as a... it's opened over here. It has a particular material. I can't remember where that material is. Let's see. Show in file system. So here it is here. I wanted to make... Yes, my light setup is a desk lamp with printer paper attached to it. I'm not sure how well that came across in the picture. Anyway, maybe I'll put a different photo of it on the Discord so you get a better idea. I took this funny photo of it that you could see if you went to my Discord channel. Just Google recall singularity and you'll find it. So there's Reconstruct appreciates the green shirt. It was his idea to chroma key it. So yes, there's another point of view of the same light. It's just a normal fluorescent light. So yeah, in case you're wondering, I'm just in the my video capture device, somewhere in here. I've got an option to chroma key this. Let's see, where are we? Filters, where's the filter? Filters. And I've got a chroma key turned on. So if I turn that off, then my shirt doesn't do anything. Oh yes, it does, it just takes a little while to apply. So you see that chroma key is like finding the green in my shirt and it's replacing it with the cool bar. So it makes everything else that's not green in front of my shirt, you know, like my phone for instance, look completely, that looks normal. Anything red looks normal, but anything green, I don't have anything else handy, but anything green that I put in front of it is transparent, which is good fun. And then I've put behind my camera, oops, I tried to click on the wrong thing, get rid of this. Behind my camera I've got this bar here that shows my volume, so you know, my shirt's transparent. It's all good fun. I got that in the right place. Good, okay. That's enough mucking around. It's all good fun. This material, so we're going to copy this, duplicate, and we're going to make a version of the floor transparent. I want to make one that's just a little bit more transparent than the regular one. So we'll go back to new ship, which is where we are, and we've got this transparent one here. I'm going to throw it across into material override, and then we're going to, whoops, I don't want that, clear, whoops, that's also what I don't want, clear, I meant to throw it up there, I keep clicking the wrong things. You can tell I haven't been in Godot for a while. I mean, how can you tell that? Flags, transparent, and then we go down to albedo, which is the color of this thing, and it has like this grey color. I'm surprised that I haven't already made it white. Interesting. I didn't realize I made my other one grey. Oh, that's probably from the texture. Can I just, yep, I can. Excellent. So I can make it as transparent as I want by changing the albedo alpha. It's just multiplying the. That's interesting. I hadn't realized that I must have decided that it was just too bright. So we tone it down slightly. Maybe move it towards the kind of blue spectrum that is in the little console cursor thing, just a little bit blue, and then we make it a bit transparent, and then it looks like something that you're building. So that'll do. That'll do very nicely. We'll save that material. Save. Everything else about this material, so the textures that you see here and so on, I created those in Substance Paint, which is a great little tool. At some point we'll be back in there making more stuff, which will be fun. So we've got a 3D cursor, and inside it we've got this node called new ship. And so when you decide to build a new ship, we need to hide or unhide that relevant node. So if we had a look in the scripts, so go to script and have a look at ship build, we'll see that when we enter the building or something, with placement ghost somewhere down here. Oh, that's a ship build one. I was thinking of cursor place, enter build. We must do something to show the relevant one. Building item. Yeah, we set a preview tile. Okay. Yeah. What does this do now? I don't think that one does anything. Process, cursor move, enter build. Somewhere in this process we actually go into the cursor and we change what it's showing. I've forgotten which one does this. We could probably, well, these names, is it in the UI? Enter build. Yes, we call this thing called set ghost. It's not able to find the placement ghost set ghost function. Placement ghost is in a script, and set ghost looks through the children and it finds the one that matches the name new ship. So if we go back into UI, here we are, we're getting there. So here we need to set the ghost and we need to give it the right name. So we're going to enter ship build here, and we tell the placement ghost that we're entering the ghost, and the one we're entering is called new ship. So I'll just write in here the word new ship, which matches the name in my entry, and that should mean when I push the button, the server's not running. I think the server's not running. There we go. I'm going to push this button. There we are. So that's a transparent floor that we were just playing with. Now one thing that's cool about the placement is that when we move the cursor, it like lifts up whatever we're placing, which is why it's doing this lowering thing that you see. And then bam, there's one. Bam. You got to say bam. It's just the rules. So that's a bit of a clue to the user that they're in this mode. But even though I've got rid of it here, it's still not going away. So it hasn't closed the cursor off. So we need to then look into the ship build cursor. Now, there's something about this right click that's not working. I think exit to default is not calling exit mode. So back in UI, yeah, I don't think we've put the cursor ship build into this list of things that are getting exited. So I need to say here dot exit mode, and that should mean when I run it, and if the server was still running, that's why these other ships are still here. If I place it, it's not working anymore. So I've found that entering a client later, it often doesn't execute actions. There's a bug in the server somewhere. So I'm just going to restart the server and the game. Hold on. This is part of the reliability stuff I'm going to have to solve later, but I've been so focused on adding features, I'm just not worrying too much about reliability in some aspects just yet. So place this, right click, that goes away, try and click, nothing is placed. That's great. Then we can put things in here and that works correctly, and then we can place another one and you can see that these ones are placed okay, and then we can put some conveyors in, you know, and we can still refine some gold like so, and we should see the gold flow through or not. Okay, oh yes, there it is, there was some gold. Did you see the gold? It's just processing now. It's all very above board and it's going into this box. If you look at the conveyor, there it goes. Isn't that nice? A very deep sense of satisfaction to see some of the stuff working. My little man is so pleased, he's going to have a look. Isn't that lovely? He's so happy. Okay. We need to change what the text on this button is. So I'll just close the server again. And 2D, zoom out a bit, click on this button, find its text in here, it's up here, and change it to place or new ship. So say new ship. Great. Okay, it's kind of redundant to say new ship, so maybe just ship core. Well, that's what we're building a ship core. Hooray! What else do we want to do? I kind of wanted to make it so that if there's another ship in the area, it gets rejected. I wonder if we reject that, where we reject that, because my plan for actions was that it would get rejected in the action itself, but I haven't actually gone ahead and made that work all the way through. I was going to do, I mean, I don't even know what would happen if I tried to reject it in the action itself at this point. I think nothing interesting. Let's have a look. It probably worked just fine, so we'll just do it. Simulation. So the problem I want to solve is if I get two actions, two ships, I'll just demonstrate it. So I'll run the server and I'll run the game, and if I place a ship, bam, like so, blam, blam. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, so now something's gone wrong with my demonstration. It doesn't want to place things for me anymore. It's like the networking somehow gone wrong. That's really interesting. Run the server again. Run the game again. Everything's working. Place some conveyors, that's working. Maybe I was just too fast. Maybe there's some sort of race condition there. Interesting. Anyway, so if I place a ship, those are all good. But right now you see this square is too close to those other ships. It'd be nice if it wouldn't let me place this one, but it will, and it causes undesirable things to happen. And it would be also nice if you know, it would tell me when I close, like they're crossing the floor of another. It would also be good later on if when I extend the floor of this one, it detects that we're trying to extend the floor of that into this one, like this, how we're pushing the floor of one into the next. But it's not detecting that right now. So those are the problems I want to solve. Okay. And then there's the other problems I wanted to solve, which was everything is free, but I think this one is probably more pressing, and there may be some stuff to do with how fast. There's a so many things to solve. Let's have a look at actions. So in action, when we create a core, SG core, network worlds, so actions are in worlds, actions, create core, what do we do? Okay, so the question I want to ask myself is, how close is the nearest ship? Are those ships intersecting with the area I'm planning to build a new ship? There's a small question and a bigger question. One question is, are we close to ships? And that would be enough. The other question is our new ship shape we're building going to intersect a ship right now based on its floor? So if its floor was really weird, like you had a small region that was allowed, and you're trying to build another ship inside that small region, how much do I want to? The simplest check would be to draw a rectangle around the ship and say you can't put another ship inside that rectangle. A more complicated version would be to ask the physics engine where you can draw a ship and try and collide with it. Try and collide with the physics engine. That would be more complicated. I'm just going to do the simple one for now, and we can do the complicated one later. Let's do something simple. So, so we want to see if a new region is going to intersect a ship, and the question we're asking is if essentially if a particular ship box is inside another ship. Yeah. So you've got an X lock and a Z lock already. We already know the shape of the ship box. Let's just do something simple for now and we can make it more fancy later. So does this ship box intersect a ship? Let's ask this question inside the space world, because it feels like a better place to put space. We have a wrapper for the space world. Let's put vertically. Best way to solve these kind of problems would be to have some sort of binary tree. There's something called an STR tree, which is perfect for this sort of problem in 2D, or a quad tree if you're in 3D. But yeah, I'm just going to do a linear search because, you know, why not? Okay, so the question we're going to ask ourselves is, if you've got a world, so in space, if you've got a given world, pub function region inside ship. and we're going to specify an X lock, which is a fixed 64, and a Z lock, which is a fixed 64, and a ship box, which is a ship box. And what we want to know is, do we have an entity? So an option entity, and all these kind of functions require something called a world, which is this world mute world. And if we can find ourselves inside a ship, we're going to return that. Is this region inside a ship? And then what we're going to do next is we're going to iterate through every single ship. So for ship, and we need the entity, so for entity ship position, or just pos, and we need the same things, so we're going to need to get the ship's entities and positions, so let entities ships positions equal world.system data, like that, and we need to say what type these three things are. So entities is a read entity res, I believe, or it's just an entity res. I think it's just an entity res, but I always forget this. Ships is going to be a read ship. Did we call it spaceship? I think we called it spaceship. And the positions is going to be a read pos, which is actually an isometry 3. Great. So with those three things, we can now join on them. E-N-T-I-T-I-E-S. We can now join on all these three things, and we need a reference to this, a reference to that, a reference to that called join, which is like a specs thing. And now we're going to iterate through all these things. If I'm just wondering if this pos is necessary. I don't think we need a pos to do this, we just need to use a spaceship. We assume that the pos and the spaceship are in sync, because the physics system I think updates the spaceship anyway. Where's my physics wrapper? I'll see if there's a right, what system's right to spaceship. Oh, right, it's called right storage. So in physics done, we write to a spaceship. Great. And in that we copy the position back. Yes. So this physics is already copying the spaceship. So anyway, I need to say, rather than read spaceship, I need to say read storage spaceship. Like this. So for every ship and entity in these things, if ship, so how big is our ship box from corner to corner? So that's one thing we're going to want to know. Well, we can just use extents. So first we offset it, and then we intersect it. That's what we're going to do. Let's just do the whole thing. So for every entity in ship, I can't remember if spaceship, it does know its own extents, that's right. It has this bounds, so need to move bounds equal. Oh, but the bounds is limited in space. How are you going to do this? So if x, and part of this problem is rotation, like the two ships, the ship we're intersecting with is possibly rotated. It's so much fun turning my hands on the camera. I always need to transform this X and Z location into, and ship box into the frame of reference of the ship I'm trying to intersect with, because they're going to turn. Okay, so we're just going to do a circle-based. We'll do a circle-based collision. We're going to ignore the fact that the ship box. What's the maximum dimension? So we've got these dimensions. The question is, which is greatest? So we go, let our size equal, what we want is the maximum of a bunch of numbers. We don't even want dimensions. I wonder if there's a way of saying I32. Anyway, our size is the maximum of a bunch of numbers. What type is this? It's I16. I'm just going to write it the dumb way. I16 max from I16 max of ship box dot left ship box dot right I16 max ship box dot top. Oh, I just realized that those are the, what we want is the maximum point from the center, and the maximum point from the center isn't going to be on one of those four edges of the square. It's going to be on the corners of the square. So it's going to be the max of we have to calculate the point, each of the different points, and we can do that using height and width. Calculating things correctly is annoying. Left, right, top, bottom. I have to square all of these. I have to find the maximum of the squared values added together. This stuff's annoying. So L size squared. So let L2 equal shipbox left times shipbox dot left. This is getting tedious. So R2 T2 B2 R2 is right, T2 is top, B2 is bottom. Now we need to find out which is further away. Is it the left top corner? Is it the left bottom corner? Is it the right top corner, or is it the right bottom corner? Whichever one of those is furthest away from the center is the one we care about, and we'll count that as our size squared for a spherical match. Now that could be put into this here somewhere. So probably a sphere containing sphere squared self, and it returns a I16. Strictly speaking, this number could go up to actually an I32 because we're squaring these numbers. Let's just ignore that problem for now. So we'll return that, the maximum of one of those values like this. Great. So L size squared now equals ship box dot that. And just to remind myself, I'm going to add a test to the tests. There's 2. Hopefully I will find this. Great. For the entity and ship, in entities and ships join, so we need to find its size squared. So we ask the ship what its size is, containing TA sphere squared. And this is called bounds. So ship bounds containing sphere squared. And the next thing to know is how far apart are the two ships. So let distance squared, and the distance squared is going to be our x log. This is the distance between the centers of the ships minus ship dot x log plus, so, and that is all squared. So let x dist equal this, let y dist equal this, but for y, let the distance squared equal x dist plus y dist. Now I believe we call these both z actually. Z log, z, z, z. It's all very good. So we need to multiply these things by themselves first. So finally we know how far apart these guys are in distance squared. So this is Pythagoras' theorem, by the way, for triangles that I'm using, which is why we're squaring these sides of a triangle to find the corners. Anyway, so if distance squared is greater than the size of that ship plus L size squared, then this ship is too far away to count. But if the distance squared is less than or equal to this, then we're going to return sum and the entity. Otherwise we're going to none, like so. That's just reminding me that this is not C, so I need those out of brackets. So when we're creating a core in here, we just need to quickly check that it's not inside a ship. So we go space region inside ship, and we use world, and then we say self.x lock, self.y z lock is none, and if that's going to be true, so to return if it's none, if it's sum, is the ship in the way? Now, if we're being sophisticated, we can make this some sort of iterator that did a filter based on spheres, and then here we did something more fancy to determine whether we're actually inside that specific ship. This is what's called coarse and fine matching. Though often the coarse phase involves some sort of you know, cool tree like a quad tree. Anyway, in this case, as long as if we're close to any ships, we're just not going to let it happen. So we will return, and rather than returning OK, so you'll see the error here, OK. Rather than returning that, we're going to return error. We must return one of the errors that's inside here, these action results. And so it's not really tile blocking, so I would have said other ship blocking maybe. Other ship blocking. Ship. And this actually reminds me, we probably need to do a similar filter when we're extending the floor of one ship. Hey, hi Sam, nice to see you. Welcome. We're extending the floor of one ship. We need to check that no other ships are nearby. So the error is other ship blocking. Import. So we'll put action result here. Now, as far as I understand, this will happen on both the server and the client, and this error will do nothing bad because it's the first time I've actually done an error in my own actions. Let's try it out. Yeah, the chance of it compiling was pretty low. I probably should have tested that first. Run. It's cool that you managed to make it along, Sam. How are we going for talkies in here? That photo's on its side. Just tell somebody that watching streams is too hard for him, and I agree it can be hard while also making a stream. It's wonderfully ironic. Anyway, thank you for watching to all the you fine people. I wonder how we're doing for people. 7 people. Oh, that's nice. It's doubled since I last looked. Thank you for joining me. Still doing this nightly thing. It's so annoying with simulation. In fact, I wonder why it's gone back to nightly. I thought I edited this configuration, so I'm trying to run this one. Yeah, one of my libraries doesn't seem to work in nightly, which is like really annoying. So we'll get rid of this. So run test simulation. There we go. Let's work through our errors, shall we? Forgot a semicolon. Cannot find ship box. This should be self. So we'll put self. Entity res. I've done this before, I keep forgetting how entity res is supposed to work. Okay, obviously I was wrong about entity res. I keep forgetting what it's called. Where have I done this before? I do the same process again and again and again and again. Dot join, and I always forget what to do. What to call this entity. Yeah, that's the one I was just looking at. It's over here that I just found. Yeah, entities. What type is this again? Oh, it's just entities A. Okay, great. So here I just need to say entities. Let me just close these so you got more space to see the code. Okay. Unnecessary parentheses. Store more of those. This function takes 4 parameters but 3 provided. Region inside ship. I need to have a box, and this is the box. So let's just make that into a let. Const new ship size equals this guy. And it's the ship box, which always seems so redundant because you always assign to it right on that right hand side there. And we need to put that in there, and we also need to place the ship box in here where we're creating it. And for this half extents, well, this is the new ship size again. Yeah, I'm not going to think too much about that. It's going to drive me crazy if I do. Containing sphere square. Okay, so that was the one that I was adding to the ship box here. Oh, I wrote containing sphere square, containing sphere. So yep, that was why that didn't compile. Yay, it seemed to be compiled. No, I was going to celebrate, but it was too soon. Oh, okay. I made the same typo. I see. So that's the way I wrote it with a typo, and then down here there's no typo. So one of them was going to always fail. It doesn't want me to use a constant. Fine. Let the new ship size equal this constant value. In C-Line you can rename variables by pushing Shift F6, which is a feature it shares in common with lots of their editors. Let's see, Twitter seems to be having a lot of reactions lately, which is nice. Oh, people care. Holy my god, so many people are retweeting. This is blowing my mind. Why are so many people retweeting my tweet? Are these all very kind bots? These people? Oh, Russ Game Dev is real. I know that he's full of love, so that's very kind. Thank you very much. Yeah. Nice. I still appreciate the bots. Yeah, I think it's partially the algorithms and partially I just chose the right tags. Maybe all my followers making me look like I know what I'm doing. All my tests still pass, so I haven't broken anything, which isn't that surprising because none of my tests actually test this particular edge case. What is the edge case I'm trying to test? Do I want to write a test for it? What would a test look like? It would be pretty straightforward. Let's have a quick look at making one. If we have a look in wrapper space, there'll be examples of making a space wrapper. He's not someone who like pimps his lyrics in the void of the cold hard void of space. No, it's something else. So here's an example space test. Create core. Just delete all the stuff. I don't need any of that. This is just an example test, and in this test I want to create a new sector, which is great. A new world ID. Don't need a world ID, just need to create. So let mute space equals sector dot get space. Did I make it get space, or is it I need to import use super star, which is all the things that are in the overall module out here. We're also going to need the prelude like this, and with those things I should have no problems. So space sector dot get, let's have a look at sector. I want to get the space world. Ship to space, no. Get a create world. We actually want us to get the world. Get the world mute, that'll do. So in here, for space, sector, get the world mute, star, world space, yep, space world ID. So we want the space world. Then we want to quickly run a couple of actions on it. So we should run create core. So it's a create core from UI. Did I make a from UI for this? I don't think I did. I just made XY. Okay, so let's find an example where I've made one of these. Here's a from UI. That's my test I'm just writing right now. That's kind of useless. Loading. Here we go. No. Also useless. Okay, so I haven't got an example of making one yet. But this is close enough, so we'll just use this. Here's an example of making one. So here's how we create a create core instance. Xlock we're just going to use 5.0, and the zlock we use 5.0, and world ID is going to be none. False info 105. That's great. So we're going to create a new spaceship, and we're going to immediately tell the space world to do it. So we're going to say apply this world ID. We're going to have to put one in. Got a world ID. Let's make it world 1. We're going to apply it to space. Excellent. And this needs to get the actual world. It's called confirmed in here. Okay. So that makes the core, and let first action equal, and then we need to say assert, and what we need to assert is that first action is okay, like this. I think that will work. And then I don't know why it's, yeah, it's happy now. Okay, and then the second one, second action, and we're going to move it sideways by say 2. So now it's 7. This should intersect with the one that I just did, and this one should fail. And so we should assert equal that we get back a specific error. So assert the first action is equal to error and the one that we wrote up here. So this action result other ship blocking is what we should get back. Bam. And then third one, I probably should just say action underscore 3. Oh well. Third action should once again be this OK create undo. So we'll just use this line as OK because it's easier than knowing what entity we have. And ship creation overlap. It's a pretty trivial test of the overlapping. I could probably write some more sophisticated test that proves the overlapping is wonderful in every possible way, but I'm a little bit very incredibly lazy right now, and so I'm not going to. Okay. Great. So you see I moved this one down a long way, so it shouldn't intersect anymore. So if we run the simulation, let's just check very quickly that that works. Okay. So no method named confirmed. For which one? World lock. Oh, I see. I need to say unwrap. I thought set to set up a star world. And then what do these ones require? Okay, so it's just telling me I need to put this inside a sum, like this. And we're going to have a problem because all these are the same number. In fact, we probably need to do something to prove that they are different numbers. Some kind of test. But we're trusting that the server's not going to mess this up normally. It's only because it's a unit test that I'm even able to type a number in this. You'll remember in the yesterday's version we actually checked they were unique on the server. Types differ in mutability. Yes, so here in space I need to say mute here to say that I want the the mutable version of the world. Yeah, I don't even need this mute here because I don't change it exactly. Let's say I don't use second action because I did the wrong thing here, and I don't use third action because I did that there. So much time spent compiling, and I've got quite a powerful CPU. I wonder if I need to break this crate up some more. Yeah, I really did think it did set up a star world. Was I mistaken? Is that something that I did myself every time? No, it just makes it empty. Yeah, so I need to actually specifically create a star world. In Singleton, I create an empty world here, world 0. Yeah, I think we have a rule in Godot create world that makes it a star world if it's a space world ID. Yeah, so that's where I was thinking of. So here I need to say that space equals Godot create world space world ID, and that will create it. Okay, let's try that again. It just occurred to me I don't even need to set up a sector, I just need to have a world. Oh well. Yeah. Here are my computer specs. Let me just move this across. Oh, there's probably some ID number in here. Yeah, look at my ID number is right there. That's probably not so great to put on stream. So as you saw, it was an Intel Core i7 8700, that sort of thing. That was really smart, Tom. And it's got a GTX 1080. I just missed out on the ray tracing ones. Anyway, next one's a ray tracing graphics card. Okay, so expect, because that will do faster rendering in 3D from Blender. Totally not for games, no. I would never have fun playing games or own a VR system that's hiding behind the sheet or anything. Yeah, so this needs to have confirmed purely for rendering. That is why I have an 80, not a 70. It's not because I want high quality settings or anything. I have done quite a lot of rendering using it, and it was useful for that, but it's probably spent a lot more power and heat playing games. Titanfall 2 was pretty fun. I don't play as many games as I'd like to because I'm too busy making them. Let's forget the sector for now. We don't need a sector to do this test. We just need to use space to create a world. So let's do that. So if we look at wrapper space, it actually has a factory that makes a space world, and we're just going to call that for our test. So it's called space build. So build. And then that also means that all the places that are using space now need a mutable reference to it, because we are creating here. So this is simpler than trying to get sector to work, because sector adds a whole bunch of extra wrappers around the world. Come on, test. All the friends want to see some graphics. There we go. Great. So let's prove it. It's proven now that it works somewhat. Let's try it ourselves. So, and hopefully we won't have that problem with the server client connection not working. And I mean, a lot of this stuff is just about being patient with myself to flush all the bugs out over time. I'll get there. I really will. Lots of unit tests. I bet that the right tests, I bet I nailed down each of these problems. Okay, so we had a linker problem, and the reason we had a linker problem is because Godot is still running. Here it is. So make sure everything's saved. Quit to the project list. Yes. And now it's no longer holding the DLL, so we can try running the game again. So now that Godot DLL can be recompiled because it's not being used by Godot. Shipcore, blam. Now this should do nothing. Oh, that one didn't do anything. Okay, so we need a bit more padding. So if they're just touching, like my mass is kind of too exact. And then the other thing is it shouldn't be able to build in here, right? But it can. So my mass is a little bit off. I'm not sure. Let's see how much off it is. So if I make that a lot bigger, and then I build a ship core, I shouldn't be able to build it here because it's too close to this, or in here. Oh, wow, that's pretty exciting. Or up here. Okay, so there are some things to be desired still in my detection of closeness. I think I got my signs around the wrong way, actually, now that I think about it. Let's have a quick look at this. Create core. We had in space. Although that doesn't make a great deal of difference. It's definitely off by 1 because the walls add 1 to the floor size and I didn't take that into account. So that means it's off by 1 per ship or off by 2. Where are we? L side squared. I wonder if when I adjust the floor, I'm not adjusting the bounding right yet. I can't remember if I did that bounding updates either. So in sector, in here, there's a place where the floor gets changed. Floor changed. Yeah. So we call this function called update floor. Back in the wrapper for space. So it's going to hide this and move this to the other side. So we've got 2 versions, and we're looking for this function. That was Control F12, which brings up a list of all the things in the particular file, and then you can filter it by typing something in, like B for build. Anyway, yeah, I was wondering this. It doesn't look like we are updating the colliders, but we're not actually changing the ship. And the reason why it's important to change the ship is we need to update that bound. So that rectangle that's defining the size of the ship is not getting changed when we're changing the shape of the floor. So when I made that ship bigger, it didn't actually change the shape of the ship. So here, instead of read storage, I need to be a write storage for spaceship. And then down here in ship, this is now mutable, so we can say it's a mutable ship. Well, actually, no, we put the mute here. Mute. I think we might have to say mute here as well, I can't remember. And then, if it's the correct ship, we need to get the collider shape. Build collider. So, but we also need to get the ship.bounds, and it needs to now equal floor.bounds, I think, is what it's called. Let's have a look at what floor is. So floor is this class here, and it has, I call it extents. So it needs to equal floor.extents. And that's copying, but shipboxes already implements clone, I believe. So here. So I don't need to specifically say copy for that to work. So now when I make a ship bigger, its bounds get updated, but it's more than that, because down here the collider has this margin is larger because of the walls. We want to make the bounds of the ship bigger because of the walls as well. So it's kind of more pure not to extend it here. I'd rather extend it in the other, because that way these two numbers always match, which is nice. If I wanted them to expand, I actually wrote an expansion into shipbox. I could just call a function here, which increases them. I forgot what it's called. expand. Here it is. But instead of that, we'll do it inside a space. So in wrapper space, down here, region inside ship, we want to say our size squared, and we're just going to tell the our ship box to expand. And we're going to expand enough for both ships, which means we just expand by 2, which is like expanding both ships by 1, and we're good. Cannot borrow is mutable. And it'll be because when I made this a write storage here, I needed to write mute here, which is the one I forgot. So the two problems, we were off by 1 for each ship, so off by 2 for the walls. And the second problem was that when we made a ship bigger, we weren't updating its box, we were updating its floor. Okay, so something's gone wrong now. So it's now complaining that that third action is not okay, and it's possibly because I've added this margin now. So we've got a ship at location 5, which is going to be 4 by 4, so it extends downwards by 5. We've got a ship at 15, so these are just touching. So if I make this 16, it should now be okay. But it's not worrying about the distance from the center to the edge. It's worrying about the distance from the center to the corner. Yeah, but it worked okay. Cool. So I need to run the server, which is building and starting, and run the game. Great. Whoa, I guess I didn't restart the server. Oops. Okay. So we'll quit the game, and that worked because I didn't change the protocol, you see. So since I didn't change the protocol, the server and the game still talk the same language, so they connected just fine. And I haven't put any versioning in, so it's not like every build has a different version number, which would be an easy way to make that fail straight up. Ship core, blam, blam, not working, blam, good, blam, overlapping, no, no, blam. Do we count that as a failure? I don't think so. Maybe. Eh. And then I shouldn't be able to have any problems with this either. Isn't that wonderful? And then if I add some floor to one of these, and then I try and build a ship, I can't overlap. And this won't allow me here because it's using the maximum dimension, so it can't get in close to that. I have to put it a bit further away, as if the ship had rotated all the way around until it was touching that. So yeah, it would be nice to highlight every tick, and the same thing is true for every other building. In fact, actually no other building has restrictions, but when we do have restrictions, it would be nice to be checking every tick. As far as I'm concerned, that's a nice to have. I just want to get the game to the point where it's playable, whereas before it was like crazy broken, like it was causing serious pain. Now it's just a little bit inconvenient. So I'm actually very happy with that. So let's make a commit. UI, but thanks for the question. I really appreciate that you're engaged. Tweak UI, add ghost, check for space to build new ship. And I need to add the material, transparent material as well, and the scene has changed. Great, commit. Awesome. So that's that done. Expose my push URLs and everything to you guys. Oh well. Okay. So that makes the next task. So the next task was what I actually said I was going to do. Let me just open the window. One thing that might help you, Sam, is to bear in mind that if you're checking for collisions, you can sort the items based on how close they are to, or even just keep the few items that are closest to the current point, and then you can just test against those only, and they'll be the same from frame to frame most of the time. And then you can check on those really fast, and then every now and again you can check on the whole list and update the list of which ones are close, and you're going to get a performance that's much better. Yeah. That's like temporal caching type stuff. What am I doing next? I want to make it so that so I have a particular design consideration to think about here. So I'm just gonna freak myself out with how many people are watching. 9 people. That's nice to see you all. Thank you for coming to watch. I have a particular design consideration in mind. So I'll just launch my game again. So here's my field of ships, and at the moment most ships have nothing on them at all. And down the track there's going to be little cores in the middle of each ship, which is like how you upgrade them. And they're going to be mining ships, so you have engines and so on. And this client is not working. Let's just start again. There's a variety of bugs, please forgive me. Anyway, server. So part of what I need to do by May, because my plan is to have this online by May for all my, and starting with people who are in Discord who are very suitable victims, I mean benefactors of my generosity, is that I need to have the server be moderately stable by then, so that, you know, and then we can just nuke it from orbit every few hours just to make sure it doesn't die completely, or whatever's required to keep it online, even if that means losing state, and just kind of it becomes a fun scratch pad to muck around while I build out different functionality. We can talk about it and you can try it when I'm building if you are trusted. Anyway, so let's say you have a spaceship and imagine there's engines and stuff, and you fly through an asteroid field. Then what that means is you scoop up some materials. So let's just quickly go into the spaceship here, and each of these scoops at the moment is hard coded to always provide plenty of gold. So you have a storage box, and then you have another scoop, and because you're flying through these asteroid clouds, you're picking up lots of gold. And whatever asteroids junk is outside the ship, you'll be picking it up and putting it in, and then you will take it out of your box, which has got such beautiful graphics, and you'll be refining it in a refinery. So, you know, here's a refinery, and it's hard coded to always process gold at the moment. So you can see, you can't see because my rendering is not showing what a refinery shows. Okay, that's cool, but the refinery is working, and it's currently producing these little bricks. There's 2 kinds of things it's producing. It's producing this red stuff, which is so-called slag, and these little boxes that I need to make into ingots. I've even got a model for it and everything, and even mostly textured. I just haven't bothered to do it yet. So this is like, you know, gold that you've gone ahead and refined. So let's say your ship has all the stuff in it. Now the idea is that you've got a ship that's full of useful things. Your core will automatically send materials that are in your ship and inside a storage box. Will send them wherever they need to go for construction. So, you know, when I went outside and I was like, oh yes, I want to place the ship, that has some cost. And so either it comes out of your inventory or it comes out of a ship. There's a process where you place it and it's free, and then it gets materials it needs to build. It might be that there's a base cost and then the rest is paid from transmitting materials to it. There's a lot of design considerations I haven't figured out yet. So how does this ship publish to the space sector what materials it currently has available for construction, and apply those and how often does it publish that information, and then how do we go about actually transmitting it out of the ship and into the space world. I hope you're having fun watching this refinery do its job. I mean, if it's bothering you how slow it's going, we can always build another one. That's what you do in these games, right? You build another refinery. Or you can watch the second one working away. How cool is that? Oh, but now this container's empty. So now we need to build more scoops. Look at me getting sucked into my own game loop. I know, right? Victory must go. Anyway, so we've got these storage boxes. Every tick or so we need to go through and we need to update the availability of stuff outside the ship. So, and then the sector needs to tell this world what it needs to consume each tick. So there's kind of a communication in and out of the sector, and we're going to code that up now. Hooray! So I'll just put that over there, and it'll just keep on going until these boxes are all full. I'll just zoom it in a bit. So you guys, I'll try not to get too distracted, but you guys can see it still working on that bottom corner of my screen, so that's quite cool. Wow, that's really distracting at the side of my vision, but it's so cool. So now that I really love my game, it's just so primitive right now, but oh, it's got such potential. Okay, great. How do we do this? In space we need to be able to represent what stuff a ship has available to build with. At the moment I have something called an item grid, which can kind of do that. We could use an item grid, we could just use a straight up dictionary. Yeah, I'm going to go with an item grid just because it exists. So what's an item grid? An item grid is like 2 arrays. So the first array is the number of different material types that are in the grid, and the second one is the number of quantities of those types that are in the grid. And there's a maximum number of slots, and it tracks how many are used, and you can add stuff and remove stuff from the grid pretty easily. And so the point is that I wanted an object that has a fixed size of memory. So if you think about this item type as a fixed size, it's a U16, and then quantities as a U8, and so these 2 arrays are quite small. So this is 128 bytes long, and then this one here is 64 bytes long, so the whole lot isn't actually that many bytes. And then these things are quite small by comparison to those arrays. So with 256 bytes of RAM, you can actually store, the contents of one of these boxes, which is an item grid. So if I put my cursor over here, it's not showing the formatting very well. You can kind of see, if you look carefully in the tiny font, it's seeing gold there. It's actually really hard to see it because the font's so small. You can see what's in there. Gold 50 slag 50, gold 50 slag 50, gold 50 slag 50, gold. Because there's actually quite a lot of stuff in that box now. Gold slag, gold slag, gold slag, gold slag, all the way through to the end where it's got 20 of each. And I move this away and I come back, and now it's 26. And we watch it go in. It still says 26, but it's just because I haven't moved the cursor. So there's a bug here where it needs updated, more regularly than when I move the cursor on. So I want to move those numbers out. We have a storage cap here. How much has each slot got? So the quantities available. Okay. So what are we going to do? We're going to build a system. The system is going to summarize a particular spaceship, and it's going to take all the information that the spaceship wants to publish about itself, and it's going to shove it out to the sector can see it, so that we can see it in terms of, this spaceship has these many things available on it. So we're going to need to, let's get started. Project. Core simulation. source and the worlds. So if we look in the worlds, the one we're interested in is called production floor. How's it going to publish this? The most straightforward way to publish it is going to be to put it in a resource. So that's what we're going to do. Modules, logistic. So this is really a logistic, at the moment this is a logistic system, and it's going to be like a item summary type thing. Yeah. Great. So that's exactly what we're going to call it. So if we go into logistic, we go into mod, and we type in here mod item summary, and I right click on this, I can now, Alt Enter, I can create a module for it, add, I want to import the prelude, so let's create, which is a Rust file that contains like use statements for all the main things that I tend to want to use in all my classes. We're going to want a structure that holds what is that really hypnotic picture is so distracting. I don't know if I can bear to have that next to me any longer, because it's just so beautiful. I can't look away. That's totally the reason. Now I have a problem with motion. I think he's moving in my peripheral vision. It's kind of annoying. Great. Okay. So we're creating an item summary structure, and we're creating using it struct using an item summary system, which doesn't actually need any data. And then we're going to import. So let's have a look at how we import system for something. So that's how you implement system for serialized ship system. So let's just copy this like that. Oh, it looks like we need default and debug as well. So I'll just copy those lines like that. So here's an example of implementing a system in specs that I've just copied and pasted from somewhere else that I'm using one. Okay, so an item summary system. So I'm going to have a rule that in order to use an item, it has to be in an item grid. We might let's make an empty component real quick. So I could make a component shared with construction or something like that. I'm not going to do this yet, but I could make a component shared with construction that I only put on boxes that I want to be available for construction purposes. So it's like having a smart box. It's like a dumb box can't send its materials out for construction, but a smart box can. And then I could represent that with a component. I'm not going to do that just yet. Okay, run. I'm just thinking here. Bringing all those thoughts in. It's collecting my thoughts together into one place. Okay. So what system data do we need? Well, the system data needs to be able to write to the item summary, and it needs to read from that thing I called item storage, item grid before. So it needs to read from the storage for the item grid. As far as I know, that's all it needs to know. Now, if we go into build module, or was it place module? Place module, and I'll just put this on the other side like this, and we go up here. We'll see these different entities that we'll find. We've got conveyor has these things in it, storage has those things, storage has the item grid, let's call it grid there. Now my question is, what else has an item grid apart from that? Because most things use this thing called recipe storage. Things that make something use a recipe storage. The scoop has an item grid. Okay. So So let's just be really restrictive. I've actually already created a component for the storage module. The storage module doesn't actually have any data in it, so I might as well make it like a module like that. So that means I don't need to put curly braces when I'm constructing it, which is kind of handy. Now what's interesting about this kind of storage is this is basically just like a giant bunch of flags together. It's like a binary vector, but it does something a bit smarter than that. So it's not using much space. It's basically every entity has an on or off bit for this particular thing. So we're going to filter on it. It has to have a storage module and an item grid for us to be able to use it for construction. Some item summary. So we're going to use that in here. So I need also to have read storage for that thing I'm filtering on, which is the storage module. Those are the three things I'm to read. This is the system data. We're going to have a mutable version of the item summary, and we're going to have item grid and storage module. Okay, so let's start. I have this problem where whenever I save, it like collapses everything because my formatting. Anyway, for we just need to know grid, and for the grid, and for the I don't really care about this. So for the grid, and there's something in item grids. I should probably call this grids. Item grids, storage modules, reference here, item grids, storage modules, dot join. So this is how you use specs to look up components. So for every grid that we find, we're going to add the contents of that grid to our item summary. So let's make our constructables and make that an item grid. And I'll just quickly refresh my mind on item grid to just see. Add items. I don't have a quick and easy way to limit how many of each item I'm putting in, and I definitely want to make sure that this item summary. Let's just quickly implement default for this. So impl default for item summary, and it's got a capital D. And it needs a certain member defined in order for that to work, which I believe is just default and returns self. So there's the template for it, and it needs to return item summary, and item summary takes one thing, which is constructables, and that is an item grid, which is how many slots does it have? Whatever the max slots are. So it would be grid size and build grid. Maybe I should make a routine here for max grid, so that'll probably be cleaner than trying to figure out what the values are that's for the very largest grids I can possibly define. So we'll just call this max grid, and it returns item grid, build grid. Max slots is going to be grid size, and storage cap is going to be U8 max. Right? That's the most we can possibly store. Oh, I return it. Doesn't need brackets. Oh, I didn't want max, I want max value. Good. Okay. So we're going to build max grid like so. So constructables can hold the most possible stuff that you could possibly hold in an item grid, which is 64 slots, and each slot contains 256 items. So until much later on, it's going to hold all the items. It's going to hold a lot of items. Later on, this approach is going to cause all sorts of problems. Pardon me. Because we have a lot of containers, they all hold the same thing. We're going to flood this constructibles with just a whole bunch of low-level items, and I want to leave slots for high-level items because my approach isn't currently going to handle that. Though down the track I will, I guess. Oh, I don't need these arguments here. Okay. So for every grid in here, we want to get an iterable. There's an iterable inside item grid, which is item quantity iter. So it has for item quantity and I'm just thinking if I wanted to use a map to fix this problem. I was kind of just describing to you, like expand it into a map and then collapse it back down onto the item grid. I currently don't, because I just want to get it working. And part of me is like, performance. I have a problem. I have a weak spot when it comes to trying to code things for performance. Okay, grid dot item quantity iter. So this iterates through all the items and quantities inside of this grid, and for each one. So before we even do this, we're going to have to go item summary. Let's just call this summary rather than item summary. So for summary.constructables, let's call that material. No, let's not call it material because it's going to confuse the hell out of me later on when I'm thinking about actual materials, you know, used for 3D rendering. So we're going to clear it. How do I clear the items? Now there's a lot of caching that could go on here. I mean, we only need to notice when item grids have changed, because conveyors have put stuff in them. I'm not taking that into account. Do I have a clear? Take clear. Reset. I have no reason to reset an item grid until now. Item grid doesn't allocate any memory. It's just a big block of RAM. So there really is no cost in simply saying it becomes equal to a new item grid like this. So we just kind of wipe it clean, blammo, who cares? Okay, so let's actually, rather than doing that, let's build a new one. So let new grid equal, and then this way we can compare them later on. And then at the end of this loop we can say that the constructibles equals new grid, and this way we'll be able to look through both of these and say, did we actually detect a difference in item quantities? Because most frames we won't, and then that might reduce work later. So we're going to add items to this grid. So if we have a look at add items, it's shouldn't be on this side. Should be on this side, and we just add so just use type and quantity. So we add items type quantity, and this needs to be an i32. Don't know why it's an i32, not a u32. I guess yeah, doesn't matter. Anyway, so we add those things to new grid mute. I really think that's everything that we need to do to make this work. So here's my test template that I used earlier on. Let's just once again delete all that stuff here, and this goes back here. That and this, and in this test we're going to test that the item summary system works. So summarize too. Our sector in this case, we don't need a sector, so let's quickly jump across. We don't. Well, I can't even bother jumping across to get an example. So let the production floor equal prod floor build. It needs to be mutable, mute, and then we need to place 2 storage boxes on this production floor. So we go place module from a test, which is kind of what we're doing. Let's have a look at what the arguments are. So in this test, place module, where is that from PF test? Here it is. So where's it going to be? X lock is going to be 1, Y lock is going to be 1, module is going to be storage, the facing is going to be facing left, and done. So we've got 1 storage box. We put a second storage box. We put this one at 3. Yeah. Put a third storage box at 5. Great. Now the next thing to do is to get those storage boxes. So I think I added a way of getting a storage at a particular location. Let's have a look and see if it's in production floor. Production floor. No? Okay. Oh. I never actually got to production floor. Rapid prod floor, that's the one. And so we have a function that returns the entity of a module at a particular location. Let's just go ahead and use this. So I need to actually make these things like so. So there's the different containers being placed. Next thing to do is to get the production floor dot module at and the location I want. So first we need the prod floor, but a reference this time, and these locations need to match. So it's 1, 1, and then we're going to unwrap that, and then we're going to say we've got the entity. Now we need to get the item grid. So that's going to be prod floor dot yeah, so we need grids, so let grids equal prod floor dot system data, and the grids type is going to be read storage, no, it's write storage, item grid. So we want that. We need to get the, so we need to go grids dot get this, let's get mute that. So we unwrap the entity and then we unwrap that again. Box should exist, and this one is expect box should have grid. Great. So why is it unhappy? Oh, it needs to be a mutable one. Mute. So from the list of grids we get a one at a particular location and it should have a grid. And then the next thing we should do is we should go add so it's let grid 1 1 equal this, and then we should be able to say grid 1 1 dot add items, and we can now add some stuff. Finally, item type gold. Add some gold ore. We'll have 10 of those. So in case you're wondering, here's a full list of all the types I've currently got. Let's have some quartz just for fun, so add 20 quartz. Great. And well, I'm just wondering if I want to make a box of contents function, and I kind of do. Let's do that real quick. So we're going to go into the production floor, and surprised I haven't done this already. Pub function make box with contents, and it takes a world, it takes an X and a Y location, it takes a slice containing an item type and a quantity, and that's it. It returns an entity from creating it, as so. Then it calls this line here, like so, and that creates it, and then it goes, so this is mutable, mute, and then it goes down here and gets the system data, and it tries to put the item in it, the items in it, the items it adds, like this. I can't remember if I put add items in a loop already. I know I've done something like it. Anyway, so for type quantity, and I need to give this a type to add as a value for this, a name for this. So for type and quantity and to add, we're going to put this in the grid. I put the wrong lines in this loop. The line in the loop should be this one. That. And then we need to return grid 1 1, and then it's going to be called new grid. And then we'll just go a step further. We'll first, instead of 1 1, it needs to say the particular location, and then at the moment this function assumes that the box doesn't exist when we first call it, so we're just going to quickly add an if statement for that. So if this module at, if that module at is none, and I know it's inefficient, but I mean, honestly, how often is this function going to get called? Who cares if it's going to look it up in a dictionary 2 times? So if there's no module here, then we add one, then we find the grids. 1, add all the items and return new grid, which is an entity. No, here it's a mutable item grid. It was this value that's the entity. So I probably should put that specifically in the let. Right click on this and go refactor. There's a extract variable option which I'm looking for, extract variable. Control V I should have used. We'll call that box entity, and that's what we're returning. Make box with contents. So over here we can just put that instead. So place module. So it's prod floor, make box with contents. The world is going to be a mutable version of prod floor. The location is 1, 1. The to add is going to be this glorious list of Godot 10, Quartz 20. Godot 10, Quartz 20. Done. We can get rid of all that other junk. We can just repeat that a couple of times. So 3, 5. So, and then where this was defined, we can now, we'll do Godot 15 and we'll put nickel ore 30, and this one has got dirty ice 40 and silicon 50. Great, okay. Oh, and in every case I've done 2. So this one has one more item. Let's say it's full of hydrogen. No, seems unlikely. It's got rods in it. Okay. Wow, now this line is so long it's got broken out in this really crazy way. Oh well, I don't really care. Great. So I found that this kind of coding is actually quite entertaining for myself, and so it's helped stave off my need to play Factorio 24/7 making code. That has been very satisfying. So we've made these 3 boxes at 1, 1, 1, 3, 1, 5 with these contents. Now let's just see if this system that I wrote earlier, the item summary system, can take a production floor and create a valid summary. So I need to take the item summary system and I need to run it now. Dot run now. And specify which world I want to run it on, which is the prod floor. I think I need to make it pass it a mutable world. No, it doesn't have to be mutable. That's nice. So we're going to run that right now. And then we should find that if I got prod floor and I asked it for fetch, and I fetched this item summary, I need to use a turbo fish, which means I need to use 2 colons in this brackets like that. So, and I don't even need to put that here. I kind of prefer to say it this way: let summary equal of type item summary equal that fetch. And it's a reference you get back, I think. Let me just check what this returns. Oh, I've gone way off track. Okay, anyway. And then the next thing is to say, if we get an item grid, did I put a vector function in here? I've got a debug formatter. That's my favorite way of testing these things. So assert equal, and I'm going to assert that we'll just put brackets, and then is going to be equal to summary dot constructables, because that's what we're making, and we're going to format this into a string, and then we're going to use that formatted string for comparison. And also all this junk at the bottom is irrelevant. And so we should find that this string now contains a nicely formatted list of all the things we get from adding all these items together into one big lump. Well, probably going to find we're going to get a bunch of compile issues, but let's just see how it goes. It's all an exciting adventure. Great, let's fix some compile issues. Prod floor in this situation is going to be this thing called world there. Okay, I'm confused. Module at is another, so we use production floor : module at like this. Okay. That should be world. It's already a mutable reference, so we don't need the mute. Again, it's going to be world. And then down here it's the same problem as before. I need to use world. Great. Oh, it's not production floor, it's prod floor. My mistake. Okay, we'll try that again. Hey AI chatbot, what am I building? I'm building a space game. Let me just show you. Documents, so pictures. I'm currently building the ability to build stuff. Gift cap. So the last thing we did was making ships, so you can actually place new ships in this game. The next thing I'm thinking of is that within a particular ship that has like a little factory inside, I want to track what items there are. So I'm just building a unit test that counts the items that are within a particular ship, so that I know whether I can build something. So where are we? So there's a gold refining process currently in the game which looks kind of like that, and when you've got a box, I want to know everything in the box and sum it across all the different boxes in a ship, and then tell what the ship can build. So I've made a unit test here which places a bunch of boxes. Yeah, thanks. And I'm just going to make a compile, and then once I've done that, I know that I'll know for the entire ship what things it has, and then I'll need to expose that so we can build stuff nearby. And there's a cost. Mismatch types. This is in Rust and it's using Godot. A lot of work. Yeah. The plan I just described, I hope to have done in the next hour. Add items. Hold on. Okay, so the problem here is that I've got a pointer. So I need to dereference these pointers here. And use variable type. Okay, so I'm going to have the same problem with pointers as well here. So I need to dereference type and dereference quantity. By the way, AI chatbot, we have a Discord all about the game. You and everyone else watching is most welcome to drop by. If you just search for the name we call Singularity, which is the name of this channel, you'll very quickly find this Discord in one of my articles or Reddit posts. But in case you don't want to, there's a link. I would love it if you dropped by. That'd be really nice. And we discuss game dev in this game, and there's a bunch of people making games, including both people who have talked in the chat channel, Sam and Weird Constructor, both of which haven't talked since you joined, I imagine, AI. They're also making their own games, which are pretty cool. And everyone's sharing their projects on here, which is quite neat. So in the current project wiki, you can see Sam is working on this game with very impressive terrain rendering, which looks amazing and Unreal. That's probably too fast to really appreciate how cool it is. And Weird Constructor, he's upgraded a screenshot because he's making a really beautiful other game. It's in the showcase. Which is a slight tiled world, and so all of us are doing Rust type stuff, so it's all very exciting. So please drop by and have a look, or follow me on Twitter, we call Singularity, and from there find out what we're all doing. Anyway, that's enough of a plug. I shall get back to my Rusty type stuff. Can a chatbot be considered a game? I really think it can. It depends on what people can do to interact with it. If it's just like a friend, maybe it's a game. Like, there's a lot of cases where people have made entire games like with graphics in streaming from text, like these little towns and stuff. This needs recompiling. I think anything that's interactive, you could call it a game. If it's interactive on a computer, then it's a computer game, even if it's a chatbot. You could say that games like Zork are kind of like a chatbot, really, aren't they? Like, you know, you're in front of a house, you see a letter box, what do you want to do? And then you answer, that's a chatbot. And the only difference is what's it describing, right? Expected reference, found fetch. So it's just saying that here. Okay, so this returns the actual value. I'm not going to specify the type here, and I think it'll just work out. Oh, I probably need to specify the type here though now with the turbofish, which is that summary, like so. Yep, sounds like a game to me, AI chatbot. Nice. Are you coding that up yourself at the moment? Are you using Twitch to code that up? We just need to, it's just complaining with these warnings that I need to say .ok. Is the test pass? Summarize too. Yes, so this is the problem I was expecting it to have, and I meant to tell you that I was expecting it to have it before we had it. I haven't actually gone into the production floor and added these new entities yet. So let's just quickly do that. So when we register all the different things, we didn't add any more components yet, but we have added an item summary system, so we need to add that up here. That's a great choice, AI chatbot. There's a lot of people making AI bots from different bots from websites. Wonder how you're going to go about marketing that. I mean, another way of doing it is to make an AI chatbot. Yes, there is. There are fireworks in the background. Sorry about the noise. I can't see them right now. Oh well, they've paused for now. I don't have any idea why people are doing fireworks. Use of undeclared type item summary system. This needs to be a public struct. And I don't want the system, I want the item summary itself. Yeah, I understand you're just having fun with your chatbot. A website's a great place to have it because you can put anything behind that you want to. This import isn't going to work because I need to go into this mod file, and remember how we have an item summary here. I just need to expose what I want to expose, so use item summary this, and also want to expose the other one, the system, and then I can go back into here, and it shouldn't even need to import it now. I'm sorry you can't work AI chatbot. It's wonderful you've got enough imagination to come up with an AI chatbot to work on. I would think if you're making something that's really an AI chatbot, you should be able to find all sorts of cool programming jobs that you can work on from home with some creativity. And so I hope that having your own project leads to success like that. Now, if you look at this, observe here, we've got all these items: gold ore, quartz ore, nickel ore, dirty ice, silicon, rods, and there's a bunch of other stuff about a storage cap and so on, which is kind of irrelevant, but I'm going to put it through anyway. An item summary and in here. So this is what's called golden data. So, and what we should find if we inspect the data that it's got, let's have a quick look at this. So gold ore, we've got 10 here and 25 here, so it's got a total of 25. And quartz ore, we've got 20, here's 20. Nickel ore, we've got 30. And then dirty ice, silicon, 40, 50, 50. So dirty ice and silicon and rods. So how about that? It's completely summed up all the different things that are inside these item boxes. So now if I just go into and add item summary system to my production floor wrapper, so remember how I added it up here to the list of components a second ago, I just need to go down here and make sure it gets run. So dot run now, then it'll get run every frame now, world. And then anybody else who wants to know what items are inside of this ship can do so from outside. The way that we've been doing that up till now is by having event queue. I'm just trying to decide whether I want the item quantities item summary system to do the event queue. I kind of don't. So in post tick events, for instance, we might send, well, no, actually we'll let the event queue do it. Okay, so the item summary queue. So what else sends an event? I know that my floor one does. Well, AI chatbot, I bet you'll probably, it's a bit of a lonely work working on a chatbot at home while you're disabled, and it would be great if you want to just hang out on our Discord. I know you're not making a game, but would love you to just hang out on the Discord with us, because it's pretty lonely working by yourself on a big project, and it'd be nice to be able to provide some support to you, just to say hello, and you can hang out. That'd be nice. So feel free to share your progress on the Discord here that I invited you to earlier, and we'll be kind and have a look and see what you're up to. Because I know it was really hard for the first few months working on this project before I started promoting and telling people about it. It's lonely as hell making something, and no one seems to care initially. Now people seem to care. It's really nice. Yeah. I've kind of lost my train of thought. Oh yes, I was going to send an event. I was going to do it at the end here, and I might only do it if new grid is different from constructibles, but I'm not going to worry about that just yet. And I have an example of how to send an event from place from floor. So we have a just floor, and in here in the action, after applying, it does this ship to space, and it pushes an event. So we're going to do the same thing here. So if we can fetch from the world the sector comms, so we're going to add to the list of things we need that we need read storage to sector comms. Now that might seem a bit weird because we're actually going to send a message, but our sector comms is thread safe and it's set up in such a way that you don't actually need to be able to modify it to use it. So it's using crossbeam. So we just specify here that we want read access to the object sector comms, like so, and the list of structures we need. And then here we can say comms, and down here we know we're going to have well, we already know we have comms because of the way this works. So comms dot ship to space dot push, and here are the different events we can have, and let's just say here that is a new one, and the new one is going to be ship summary, and it's for a particular world ID, and it has constructibles in it. It's a very big piece of data, constructibles. I think I can use box for this because box is send, I believe, even though it's multi-threaded. So we're going to put this item grid in a box, like so, item grid, like so, because I don't want to make this enumerator huge. Import it from the preload. So we've got constructibles as a box with an item grid in it. Yeah. Okay. So should space push. Did I call it? Did I copy that? Yeah. Yeah. I do understand exactly what you mean. My wife is starting to understand what I'm doing. She doesn't yet know how big it could be, or at least she doesn't understand that side of it, and she certainly doesn't get the technical aspects of it. But now that it's visible, and she can see something on the screen, and the kids can enjoy it, and she can see people interacting with me and liking it, that it's much more tangible. The kids love what I've got so far. Just the buttons I can push, and just push some buttons and like mush things around. They're having a great time. But I totally get it. Like, the number of people who really understand what I work on is quite small. So I'm really glad to have them by my side. And I was very fortunate to have a friend who understood right away what I was up to right from the start and believed in me. So that meant a lot going forward at the start of this project before I even got started. I could just send him the most random descriptions of what I was up to, and he'd be like, "That's great, keep going," and I really appreciated it. I'm not sure if I made item grid clonable. No. In fact, I didn't derive anything for this. So I need to derive clone. Because I'm about to use it. New grid dot clone. And then I have to, this is a move, this constructible, so after that it's no longer available. Okay. So we're going to use ship to space to push a summary with the constructibles in it. And this will happen pretty much every frame because the item summary system is every frame. So the next question is, do we put a test here to only send the event when that changes? At the moment I don't really want to. And then we need to go across to the other side in sector. So let's go to sector.rs and handle events. This is where the sector, so if you've seen the open space full of spaceships, the sector organizes all the different spaceships together. So we've got a ship summary coming in, and the ship summary contains both the world ID but also constructibles, right, which is a box. And what we want to do is get the relevant ship. So space update floor, space update summary, yep. So we get the world again, confirmed mute, and to pass in we're going to need to know the constructibles here like this. Now I'm not sure how to unwrap it out of a box, or I just probably just take a reference and it's going to pass me in. I'm not sure if it's going to pass me in a. What I want to do is pass in a reference to item grid rather than passing in the entire box. Oh well. So then we go into this space, the wrapper of a space. So I need this update summary in here. Let me cough. Okay. We'll go to the same place as we had for update floor. So there's update floor. We'll add another one for update summary. So it's a public function update summary, and it takes a world, and I'd like it to pass in a constructables, which is a reference to an item grid. So we've moved from the previous stuff I showed you was a system inside of the floor, inside of a particular ship, and by sending an event through Crossbeam and picking it up in the sector, so later on after the tick's done, or maybe even in a different thread, if I do this in a multi-threaded process, I'm now ready to tell the spaceship that one of its floors has a new summary. And the way I'm going to do that is by finding the relevant ship. The best way to find a ship right now is this way. Later on I might have a hash map way of finding the ship. I really need to I need to generalize this into let's generalize this into a function. By function, get ship for world ID, and specify a world. And we're going to just open curly braces, and this thing returns an option, and in that option it's going to return a entity. And I can't really return a reference to a ship from here because of the way this stuff works, which is why I ended up doing it the way I did it. It's a real pity. What can I do about that? Yeah, I can't be bothered dealing with that problem right now. So we're going to have to do the same process here as we've done in this other one. It's really a bit ugly. And of course this process is repeated for every ship. So if it's an n squared process, so if I've got 20 ships, then we have to do this, this linear search 20 times, and each one has to go through 20 ships. So it's a bit expensive. There are much better ways of doing this. We could populate a resource from the events and then put them into the ships later or something. Or we could even just populate a resource and call that a day. Or we could do this lookup using a map. I probably will do that option with a resource and a map later on, but for now I'm going to do a linear search. Yeah. This stuff's always so hard. Anyway, ship.constructables equals constructables.clone. Now, a ship doesn't yet know about constructables. No, this is not what I want to do. I want to do create another entity that contains the item grid inside of it, or is similar in space, rather than this is not working for me. I think I had a construction zone. Yeah. So let's create another component here that is something like a construction material. So every ship has a construction material in it, and that is has an item grid in it, which is this component for construction material. This is quite a large component because the item grid is quite a large thing. And then we can add this optional one, which is yeah, but I won't. So we'll just assume that it already has a constructible in it, otherwise this loop will not find the ship. So mute constructibles. So I'm going to have to export these values from construction zone in here. I'll use construction zone. I already got this, so I export this other component as well. So the advantage of doing this remapping that I'm doing here is later on, if I split the file, I only have to modify it here in this module rather than everywhere. Okay, so go back to the wrapper space. So I should be able to say constructible. I need to think more about this. I'm getting a bit tired and it's getting a bit harder. Let's mute construction materials. Yeah. We need to write storage to construction material here. And that reminds me, I don't need to have floor. I don't need to have colliders because I'm not updating those things here. So we've got ships and materials. There's ships, there's materials. And then for material and materials. And then here, material.constructibles. We clone constructibles. Great. So this component gets updated. And then there's a couple of things still to do. So now we have one more component to register here. So this is something we're going to also need to update for the player. If they're carrying stuff they can build with. Yeah. And then the other thing to do is, I had some other idea of what I had to do. Yes, whenever I create a ship, ship add spaceship. Whenever I add a new spaceship, I'm going to add a new one of these construction materials. And had to make a new function here. Pub new, and it's has to return a new item grid. I'm really starting to feel myself fading, like it's getting harder to think. Okay, so construction materials should be ready to use. Where we have a spaceship. Now, this isn't the only place we create a new spaceship. You're redoing your drawing of the chatbot. That sounds nice. I personally find 3D stuff easier than 2D. I've written a little Medium article on it, making a 2D game in 3D. If you just Google my name in that, you'll probably find the article. Yeah. Here I create a spaceship. Here I create a core. I'll need to also create the spaceship there. Need to create the construction. This construction material probably should be automatic. Dot with. There's a serialization type thing which I've got. And serialize space, and it makes in deserialization. It makes a new spaceship. So there's a spaceship, it has some widths, and I wonder if I need to add all the widths here. So in order to use that width, you need to have the components right there and then. So in order to add this construction material, I need to have access to it now here, so I need to add it to the system data. Web page not available when accepted an invite to Discord. So if I go to Discord and I just go invite people and I copy this and then I paste it in here, you should find that that works, but it might be that there's a .gg block or something similar for your browser. I'm not going to bother. I'm just worried if you receive a ship over the network, it's not going to have this construction stuff in it yet, and I probably need to create it at runtime. So to do, might need to create construction here, or I might need a system to do that. And I probably need to put that in here as well. Do not properly set up by space serialization, which is important for other clients that join later on when the ship's already built. They need to have all the components added. Okay, so close this. So I need an arrow here. Cannot find ship world ID in here, so I need to know ship world ID is a world ID. It's a global one too. this function here needs to make sure it passes it through. So trait bound default is not specified for the sector comms, does not have a default in it. So okay. So I need to decide how to deal with that. I think there's a way of asking for reads as optional, like an option read, sector comms or something similar. Yeah, I think that worked. And then down here and the type here is going to be an option. If let some comms equal the option one. Expected value found module space. Okay, so there's this line here that I forgot to copy down where we got space. You can see AI chatbot still hasn't managed to make it across. I might just put my Twitter account in there, and maybe from there you can figure out how to get to Discord. There is a Discord link in Twitter. Says here we can't calculate equal using this now. Okay, and so because we don't have a way of calculating equal for this, we can't calculate equal for this. So we're going to have to say that this assert equal is just like a we have to do something like test with strings as opposed to testing with actual values. It's because I can't calculate EQ on a box, and so as a result, and I'm only doing it for testing purposes, so it's probably better to just do it that way. so that worked, and so we could okay, I don't know why it quit suddenly. We could write a test that actually straight up tested this whole thing, made a sector, made a ship, put stuff inside it, that sort of thing. I don't actually have any user interface as yet, and I need to go both ways. So the only thing that failed was this particular test here. It's a very minor one, the one that I changed to a string. I don't need this part here. So if we can look at a ship and find out what's inside it that can be used for building, then we can show that on the user interface. We could have rules that say you can only build things if you have enough resources nearby. I still need to, there we go, suck the resources out of the ships so that you built with something and the resources have gone. That's quite a bit of work, and that'll have to be what we do tomorrow, I guess. So so if we go to my wrapper, this wrapper space is the right place actually. No. And test sector. So we're going to make a fabricator near a core, or up here when we place the core. So we need to check that it doesn't let you place a core unless you have resources nearby that are enough to actually build one, and that when you build it, it has less. So I need to put these tests in here. So input items into a ship, check that they drawn from that core can be built when ship has items, and that'll be the next unit test to write, I guess. And I have to expose the same behavior in the UI later on so you can actually see it. I won't be able to do a visual demonstration for a while. So that's where we're at. Thank you very much for watching. Run the server and the game again. One last picture of everything running, but nothing's really changed. Thanks, AI chatbot. That you can see. The fact that it's tracking the items is all kind of invisible, so you know, if you had a bunch of scoops and a bunch of conveyors, you just have to trust me that we're creating a calculation of how much of these different things is being put in the various places. I'm so tired, I'm going to go to bed now. I really appreciate you guys coming to watch. That's where we're up to. It still needs a lot of work, and yeah. Good night. I think I'm supposed to make you guys go and raid someone, but there's not very many of you now. Please do follow, and have a look on Discord, and let's see if I can figure out how to raid a channel. So What should we raid today? I wonder if, who else is doing something with Godot. He was making a Godot game that was quite cool. So why don't you guys go and raid them and say nice things? And it was such a pleasure. Where is Auckland? Auckland is in New Zealand. It's in the southern hemisphere of New Zealand, of the world. It's next to Australia, and it's where the Lord of the Rings was filmed. In New Zealand, and Auckland is a northern country city. I'm getting tired, can you tell? Anyway, thanks everybody. See you on Discord, and otherwise good night. This was the Recall Singularity. Good night.